Hi, my name is Dhillon. This presentation reviews a case study titled The New CIO and looks at the culture and integration of project management and methodologies. This case study discusses the importance of project management, change of culture at Rose Industries, and implementation of a four-step approach. Rose Industries manufactures electrical products for the home. This organization believed in breeding and promoted from within the company. This was a challenge since their conservative policy dictated that all employees new to the company had to start at the bottom and work their way up. This actually discouraged people with MBA degrees from applying. The organization also did not promote external education, nor did it offer any tuition reimbursement policy, which meant employees had to pay all expenses out of pocket. Rose Industries also did not see value in using project management and had no formal project management methodologies. Their information systems were outdated, and they had no systems development methodology either. The ultra-conservative nature of this organization needed change as it was affecting growth. Rose Industries was losing business to some higher-priced competitors whose advertising campaigns attacked Rose's weak project management capability. The president and CEO realized Rose Industries was facing a serious situation and needed to develop methodologies for both project management and information systems. It was time to break with tradition and hire a new Chief Information Officer, or CIO, from outside the company. John Green, a 20-year veteran with extensive credentials and experience, was hired. It would be a difficult challenge for John Green to change a culture and for his ideas to be accepted, since Rose Industries had the same culture for decades, and change acceptance would be difficult. Without this change, however, this organization was doomed to fail. 11 questions will now be reviewed specific to this case study. Question 1. Why was it so difficult for Rose Industries to implement project management prior to John Green coming on board? Implementing project management was difficult because this organization believed in inbreeding and promoted from within the company. Their conservative policy dictated that all employees had to start at the bottom and work their way up. Employees were not supported for personal growth, nor were they provided with opportunity to excel. Rose Industries did not educate its employees about project management or systems development methodologies. Communications were poor due to lack of a good information system. Cooperation and teamwork occurred only if people felt they could benefit personally. There was more mistrust than trust, and basically there were no building blocks for effective project management. Therefore, implementing project management in such an organization was going to be a challenge. Question 2. Can inbreeding be detrimental to project management maturity? Yes. Inbreeding can be detrimental to project management maturity, and it impacts promotion and growth for long-term employees who don't have the support they need to excel. 3. Looking at Rose's current level of project management maturity, which is not much, how long might it take the company to see more reasonable project management maturity, assuming John was not there? With John being there, he had already estimated a 5-year time frame to implement effective changes in this organization. Without John and without project management experience for the existing culture, the ultra-conservative thinking, the lack of leadership, and no building blocks for effective project management, this company would not be able to achieve reasonable project management maturity. 4. Is it possible for an executive, or for anyone less for that matter, to determine the true challenges of the job at hand during hiring interviews? What questions, if any, should be asked? I think it would be very challenging for someone to determine the true challenges of the job unless they ask the right questions, but those questions need to be related to work culture and leadership capability. 5. How does one know during the job interview process if the promises made for support will be kept? Well, the job interview doesn't promise support, but it does review the culture and professional skill level of the applicant in relation to the job position. John correct in his 4 components of good project management culture? Yes, John was correct in his 4 components of a good project management culture. His intent was to encourage communications with good information, enhance cooperation and teamwork to benefit the organization and the employees, and to instill trust from the employees for the organization. 7. Was he too optimistic with this 4-step approach? Yes and no. John presented his 4-step approach in a direct and concise delivery manner. However, his 4-step approach was optimistic due to the culture of this organization and the lack of understanding from the executive. John wanted to hire several PMP credential holders as they would bring the experience that was necessary. He wanted to create project management offices in order to create the necessary methodologies, and he wanted inclusivity for the PMOs in executive decision-making. The challenge for John to implement these changes is that the executive and the employees of this organization did not know what this meant or what the impact was to them. In order for John to successfully implement this type of approach, he needed to take a step back and first educate the executives on what project management actually offers an organization and what the benefits would be. John needed to provide evidence and data to support his approach to the executive. Once he achieved the necessary buy-in and appreciation from the executive and the team, then his 4-step approach would have taken on a different acceptance path. 8. Why were the other executives threatened by his 4-step approach? The CIA is supposed to develop opportunities to deploy processes to give the organization a competitive differentiation. This was John's end goal. However, the executives were threatened because they didn't want to hire outside of the company and wanted John to use the existing internal staff who did not have the skill sets that John required. The executives didn't want to add further layers of management on top of existing organization structure. The executive also did not understand the importance of creating 2 PMOs or the value they could bring to the organization. They also did not understand why methodologies had to be developed when they can obtain packages commercially. The executives felt threatened and thought they would lose power, authority, and bonuses. If John had decided to remain with Rose Industries, how might he change his 4-step approach given the responses by the other executives? The challenge here was that the executive did not fully understand or appreciate the 4-step approach or what the benefits to the organization would actually be. John needed to first educate the executive on what project management and methodologies are, why they are important, the value they bring to any organization, and how they can be achieved. He needed to show real examples of where this approach has worked and where it hasn't and why. So his priority should have been to first educate the executive. He adjusted his plan from 2 to 5 years and could have allowed the executive to be more involved in the process, for example, by participating in the portfolio selection of the projects as well. 10. Was John correct in resigning from the company? I think in this particular situation, it would take a long time to implement an approach that would be successful. If John was expecting a quick turnaround, then yes, he was correct in resigning. John wanted to salvage his reputation, and even with his best efforts, John did not have the executive support he needed. As a CIO, he was to add value, but there was no support for him to do this. So he was correct in resigning from the company. What is your prognosis on Rose's chances of remaining in business? Without the necessary changes, due to the existing culture, lack of change, as well as mistrust throughout this organization, Rose Industries' prognosis is dim, and with the competition being fierce, I think this organization will collapse. These are the references for this presentation, and I thank you for listening.